This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Shout out to Sonos for supporting today's show. I just added the Sonos Arc Ultra to my home theater, and folks, it's a game changer. The surround sound is so immersive, I swear I heard the turf crunch during kickoff. And the bass, it hits like a powerhouse running back in the open field. Plus, it looks clean, sleek design that fits right in with my setup. Whether I'm watching live games or catching up on film, Sonos makes it feel like I'm in the stadium. If you want sound that performs like a first-round pick, Sonos Arc Ultra is the move. Explore the lineup at Sonos.com.
Whatever team Fia is on has a chance to win a championship.
I'm Christina Williams, host of the podcast, In Case You Missed It with Christina Williams. The WNBA playoffs are here, and I've got the inside scoop on everything from key matchups and standout players to the behind-the-scenes moments you won't find anywhere else.
It's really, really hard to be the champions, but we have to remember how it feels and embrace the new challenge that we have.
So listen to In Case You Missed It with Christina Williams, an iHeart Women's Sports production in partnership with Deep Blue Sports and Entertainment on iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is The Drive for Five leader fan radio network, and KFAN.com. 2 minutes, 9 seconds past 3 o'clock Central Daylight Time. We welcome you back. It's the Friday Football Beast edition of the Bumper to Bumper program on a very summery Friday afternoon here in the Twin Cities that we affectionately refer to as Minneapolis and St. Paul. My name is Dan Barreiro, the host of the program. Guardsy produces the show. And as far as I know, we're going the distance today. And thank God, because we have a very full lineup between now and 6:30. Now, you looked over to your left. Does that mean we might actually be out at 6:15?
That's just my confirmation.
Just in case.
Yes.
As far as we know now,
yes.
Full show.
Full show.
Which is good because we got a full roster of outstanding guests today. Let me count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, if you include Gerbschmidt as a guest, if you consider Gerbschmidt a guest,
yeah,
we have 5.
I guess he is, technically.
He kind of is, although there's always the asterisk as it pertains to Carl Gerbschmidt. Lots to get to today. Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line is open at 64686. Are you excited about the Drive for Five?
Is that about our show today, the Drive for Five guests?
Well, actually, that's a good point. I hadn't even thought of it that way.
I was excited about the show.
No, this particular Drive for Five is not related to the fact that we have 5 guests.
I'm assuming I will like it because I feel like it's going to be sarcastic.
Well, no.
No?
Not in the least.
Really?
Well, technically speaking, there are 2 active Drive for Fives when it comes to the Minnesota sports community.
There's the Lynx.
The Lynx trying to win their 5th WNBA title. And your Minnesota Vikings trying to improve to 5-0.
Oh, yeah.
Playing overseas across the pond.
They are that,
in regular season games.
We're 4-0.
Do you know our record in preseason games across the pond?
How many have we had?
Apparently 4. And I don't remember any of them.
I bet we're 0-4.
We're 4-0.
Oh, really?
We're undefeated, apparently.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either. But I do know in the regular season we're undefeated. So let me ask you this toss-up question. Which Drive for Five is in greater peril as we speak? The Vikings Drive for Five in Europe or the Lynx Drive for Five when it comes to winning WNBA championships?
I feel better about the Vikings winning this weekend.
Really?
Than I do. If I'm forced to choose between those 2.
Interesting choice.
I don't feel bad about the Lynx. I'm annoyed how they lost the other night, but I feel like they can gather themselves and figure out a way to get one in Phoenix, maybe 2.
Yeah.
But if you're asking me what do I feel better about, I think it's the Vikings-Steelers. I'm feeling good about the game for some reason, which is probably not a good sign if you're a Vikings fan.
I think I feel better about the Lynx. Even though it's a long way from here to there, they have to, get past squandering that 20-point lead, regain home ice advantage in this round, and then still advance and win another round. All the Vikings have to do to go for their successful Drive for Five is to, on Sunday morning our time, frustrate Aaron Rodgers, like we did a year ago.
Yeah,
he
3
was
picks.
awful against us last year, and knock off the highly beatable Pittsburgh Steelers. You could say the Steelers are certainly more beatable. Phoenix, I think, is a legitimate WNBA team. And then, as I said, you got to win another whole series. So we'll see how that indeed goes. I'm looking forward to both. The Lynx on the Fan tonight, correct?
You got it.
And the Vikings on the Fan pregame show will start at 6:30 a.m. Is Packer preview at 6?
Probably. I don't know. Actually, I think what they're doing is they just made it a podcast this week.
Oh, really?
I think I saw that. Yeah,
Okay.
Sinekin, I think,
Because
said.
last week they pre-taped it and it ran usual time.
That was because Cindy was out of town.
Correct.
This
week is an actual podcast.
Yes. He and Brett, I think, are either doing it today or they've already done it, and it should be posted by Sunday.
If the Gophers lay an egg tomorrow at Huntington Bank Stadium, is it unlikely that there will be Gopher Football Sunday in any form?
No, I don't think we're results-oriented on Gopher Football Sunday.
Good to know.
Yeah, I don't know if Bernsey and I will be able to pull it off or not, either way.
They pulled it off last week on the tarmac.
And you saw the feedback we got on that.
Yeah, you can't listen to those
now
idiots. Now you're doing what I do too much.
Now my heart's not really in it.
Well, yeah, you can't let the terrorists get you down.
But that was different because I had a show to fill. When it's a podcast, it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
I don't have a slot to fill on Sunday.
Well, technically, you could.
I could add a slot. I could make a slot and fill it.
Then again, I'm not sure it makes any sense to run it at 5 a.m. any more than it makes sense for me to do sermons at 5 a.m.
Correct.
It's not a huge audience.
No.
At 5 a.m.
No.
Right?
No. It's not.
I don't think.
Maybe it would be.
I don't know how big the audience is at 6:30 for the pregame. I'm not exactly sure.
But we're contractually obligated to do that.
So this weekend is really about 2 drives for 5. And as I mentioned, in case of the Lynx, do we call it pivotal? Game 3 in a best of 5 when it's 1-1? I don't know. I mean, you could certainly take the pressure off if you return the volley, return the serve, whatever expression you want to use, the way Phoenix did last game. Are they the Mercury?
They are.
They're the Mercury. And you win tonight and you have regained home ice advantage. Simple as that, right?
Yes.
At which point, maybe you go and say, let's just end the damn thing on the road.
Like they did against Golden State.
Exactly.
It was a nice way to do it.
Very, very possible. Vikings, I don't know. I mean, it's weird because all week I have leaned towards picking the Vikings to beat the Steelers. For some reason, I'm starting to wonder. I don't know. I'm starting to have a weird feeling about this game. And frankly, here's the sad part about it. Do you realize how many of the McCarthy maniacs are actively rooting against the Vikings?
Oh, no. Are there a lot?
Well, yes. Because they don't want to have to live with the possibility that Carson Wentz leads the Vikings to another victory. And then that adds momentum to the concept of we're going to hang with Wentz longer and longer. They're actively rooting for Wentz to stink in Dublin and for the Vikings to lose. That's sad, isn't it?
It is, but in their defense, and I think I'm of this generation, you have to remember that for a certain portion of the Vikings fan base, and that would be my generation, we've never had what we think we have now, a young quarterback to potentially build around. We've had it one time with Dante. We've been waiting for a long time to have a young quarterback.
What would you rather do? Get a young quarterback or win? It's up to you.
I know. I don't
think they can happen. I don't think they can right now happen at the same time. Now, I get it. The catch-22 is, well, if you say JJ needs more experience, then how does he get more experience if you don't put him back in the lineup and live with the slings and arrows and the ups and downs and the whole bit? That is the catch-22. I understand that part of it. But somebody else once said it, what's wrong with winning? So we'll see if the Vikings can, that would be a successful drive for 5. We could go advance to 5. Is anybody else in the National Football League have that record? In other words, I'm sure there's a couple of other undefeated teams, but have they played as often as we have?
I'd have to look it up. I don't know.
We could advance to 5-0, and if the preseason record I saw is accurate, we would be 9-0 in Europe overall. Do you remember us playing in the preseason in Europe, in London? I don't.
No, but they used to do that.
They used to do it.
Didn't they go to Sweden one year?
Oh, that's true. You're right.
Bud was bitter about it.
That's true.
I feel like they went to Tokyo.
They did go to Sweden once.
I feel like they've gone to great lengths in the preseason before.
Speaking of, somebody has suggested there's another drive for 5 that we are ignoring. The Twins drive for finding 5 confirmed season ticket holders to renew for the 2026 season.
I knew there was a Twins cheap shot in there somewhere. I just couldn't get there fast enough. That's a good one.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
There's no doubt about that. By the way, if this matters to you, back-to-back texts. Don't let a small vocal minority suppress Gopher Football Sunday. The real fans appreciate it. Followed by, don't take the hate to heart, Guardsy. True Gopher Oboes. Love the effort. That's Brookings, South Dakota guy. So,
touchdown Jackrabbits.
You can't let, like I do, the vocal minority bring you down to a place where you're pouting and feeling sorry for yourself. They're out there. Most people listened. We're grateful that you gave them something. Grateful that you didn't run from it because the Gophers lost. You still put something together. So you got that in your back pocket. I think you should do a show at 5 a.m.
I know I'm not going to do that.
Better you than me.
Yeah.
Well, you could tape it.
Yeah, that's what we'll probably do.
Tape it and run it at 5 a.m.
That's what we'll probably do.
That's the answer.
Not the 5 a.m. part because we'd have to move some things around in the log, I'm sure. I wouldn't. Chad wouldn't. I don't want to put anything on his plate.
He's a very busy man right now.
I haven't seen him in weeks.
The last time I saw him was 2 weeks before the state fair.
That's about right.
And that's about a month now, right?
I think I saw him at Vikings training camp.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I guess that shows you how well the ship's running.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not complaining.
Me either. No. If there's no need to see the boss, there's no need to see the boss. First guest is next. Dateline Dublin. It's Ben Goessling.
Support for today's show comes from Sonos. You know what makes draft day even better? Surround sound that hits harder than a sleeper pick in the 12th round. I just hooked up the Sonos Arc Ultra, and let me tell you, this thing booms. Crystal clear highs, deep bass, and it looks sleek enough to sit next to my fantasy draft board. Whether it's game day or mock draft night, Sonos makes every moment feel like a stadium experience. Trust me, your fantasy team deserves elite sound. Upgrade with Sonos at Sonos.com.
Would you guys consider anything less than a championship to be a failure from this year?
I wouldn't say anything is a failure, especially because we all grow every day. Obviously, the goal is a championship. There's no doubt in that, and that's the goal. We want to win a championship.
I'm Christina Williams, host of the podcast, In Case You Missed It with Christina Williams. The WNBA playoffs are here, and I've got the inside scoop on everything from key matchups and standout players to the behind-the-scenes moments you won't find anywhere else.
It's really, really hard to be the champions, but we have to remember how it feels and embrace the new challenge that we have.
For all the biggest stories in women's basketball, plus exclusive interviews with the game's brightest stars.
So to be here, I think it's one that we definitely don't take for granted. But we also know, that's just one stop along the way, and we're hoping to, make a run.
So listen to In Case You Missed It with Christina Williams, an iHeart Women's sports production in partnership with Deep Blue Sports and Entertainment on iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Right after. We may have stumbled on a bit of a theme for today's program. For example, 952 guy writes, our state is also driving for $5 billion in fraud.
And that's a fact.
$5 billion. That's a different kind of drive for 5, but they all work, that's for sure. Dateline Dublin, that is the location for Ben Goessling, and he joins us now live. And all courtesy of the Connecticut Water Systems hotline or some such activity like that. Mr. Goessling, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm just finishing up a plate of fish and chips and riding from my hotel room through all of the day's events in Dublin.
Outstanding. Well, we got a little bit of a bump in the. I think we'll try to get through it here. A little bit of a bump in the signal, but we'll try to forge ahead. Fish and chips. Now, I associate fish and chips more with England than Ireland,
yes.
But maybe it's a distinction without a difference. I don't know. In other words, the Irish, will they take offense that you think you're doing something in an Irish way if you're having fish and chips?
Well, it was more a matter of I want something for dinner for room service, and it sounded good.
Yes.
So, whether my cultural allegiances are properly aligned. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, it's like, we're closer to the traditions of the dish, so I figured I'd go with it.
If anybody can afford to have a deep fried, breaded fish and chips, it's you, the guy who runs like 450 miles a week. Yeah, I mean, you could eat fish and chips forever, would have no impact on the physique. All right.
I did go to the track this morning, so we already cleared room for it.
That's good. That's even better. What kind of track? Where did you go?
There was a track in Dublin. It was brand new, like the Irish Town Athletic Center. It was like a mile from my hotel. I was like, nice. Oh, perfect. I'll run over there. I'll go do the workout I needed to do this week anyway, and then I'll run back. And it ended up being it's like 50 degrees, a perfect morning to run. So it was a nice find, and maybe back tomorrow. We'll see.
So set the scene for us from a pageantry standpoint. What have you picked up so far as we prepare for Steelers and Vikings on Sunday morning, our time?
Yeah, so they landed this afternoon and pretty much went right to work, which is a little different than they've typically done it when they've been here. They are not staying at the hotel where we're not practicing, we're staying, I should say. That I think some of this has been, the home team typically gets the first pick of where it wants to set up, and that's the Steelers in this case. So the Vikings ended up at the Sport Ireland Center, basically the national training ground for all of their international level or Olympic type athletes. Sprawling complex just outside of Dublin, and that's, I believe, where their national rugby team trains. So that's where the Vikings were practicing this afternoon. It was a massive complex, but there's not a hotel on site. So instead of going to the hotel, they went straight there, kind of did a walkthrough to just get people moving around a little bit, and then went on with practice. And, after that, it was sort of this, O'Connell will come in and talk to the local press, and we have all of our boring football questions, and then the international press has lots of other things to ask about that kind of go in different directions. And one of the things that people ask Kevin O'Connell about, of course, is his own Irish heritage. He is obviously Irish with the last name, and he said he brought his parents. He doesn't know exactly what the background or exactly where his family hails from, but it sounds like they may be able to do a little bit of fact-finding on that tomorrow. And I think somebody told him at the end of the press conference how to pronounce his name in Gaelic. And Justin Jefferson got asked if he's ever tried Gaelic football, and he and Harrison Smith and T.J. Hawkinson had to basically on the fly say, yeah, how do you play that? So it was a little more entertaining, a little more interesting than some of these things get, just given some of the connections that the Vikings have to Ireland, I guess, in some ways.
The stadium holds, is it 82,000? Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's a big one.
It is, yeah. It's typically where they do the Gaelic annual event. I think the Gaelic Games is what it's called.
Yeah, right.
And so Gaelic football, I learned about, my cab driver actually told me about this on my way in. He had played it years ago. It's a little bit like rugby, except there's a goalie.
Yep.
And the ball is more of a round ball. It's not an oblong ball, but it sounds like it's completely nuts. It's all of these guys who are amateurs that they're prohibited from taking money. They basically play for their county teams, and it's all just this sort of regional pride thing that is what drives everybody to go out and get tons of broken bones and do this all the time. But the final for that is at Croke Park, and they fill the place up to 80,000 people. And I don't think they have quite that many tickets for this. I don't think they were planning for 80,000 seats in this one, but it's sold out. So they obviously had enough demand to do it. And it's going to be interesting to see kind of what that's like, because you're always kind of trying to figure out places to put these games. And there's things over the years where players go into stadiums that the lockers are not built for Christian Darasaw-sized people, and it can be a little difficult. That's part of the reason they've liked Tottenham, because they put in a football locker room in that stadium. I don't think this has quite that. It sounds like the Vikings locker room, especially as the visitors, is a little bit makeshift at Croke Park on Sunday, but it will be the field should be in good shape, which is sometimes a question with these things too. It's a grass field. They won't have any concerns there. And the place they were practicing today could not have been better set up for them either. I mean, Kevin O'Connell basically said it was like a normal day of work, except for the fact that it's in Ireland, not in Egan.
NFL Ireland guy was on with Tatum last night on the Vikings podcast. He said they'll sell 77,000 tickets of the 82.
Okay.
He said they can't get to the full 82 for this particular game, but
That's
he
not
says
bad.
we're selling 77, and 77 are going to be here.
That's not bad at all.
There's certainly enough buzz about it. I believe it'll be full.
So, and we think of the two games, we expect more of a Vikings crowd in London and here 50-50 or more Steelers. I mean, technically, I know we're the visiting team, but what do we think? What are we hearing about what the atmosphere is going to be like on Sunday?
Yeah, I think this one will probably be more Steelers fans than Vikings fans. I think it'll probably, 60-40 is kind of the number I've heard thrown around, which if anybody that's been to Pittsburgh, that's still a substantive improvement.
Yep.
Yeah, you absolutely will take that. That's, as Justin Jefferson said today, I'd rather be doing this here than in Pittsburgh, just because you know how tough that place is to play. And that's part of the reason they were like, yeah, we'll do this, because you don't have to take trips to Pittsburgh and Cleveland that can be tough places to go in. You could have weather if it's later in the season. So they said this is a good trade-off, and I think that's part of the reason why. Yeah, I expect there'll be a lot of Steelers fans. There are a lot of Vikings fans here too, though. I mean, there were lots on my flights, and there's lots walking around town. I think it'll be, a little closer to a split crowd. And then, yeah, I would think there's probably a few more in London simply because the Vikings have been there enough that it's easier for people to get to, I think, a little bit than Dublin can be. And there's probably some Vikings fans, or at least people that, if they're going to have an NFL team in London, a lot of times it is the Vikings because they played there so much. So, yeah, it will be, I think, a pretty electric atmosphere on Sunday, though. I mean, both these fan bases travel well on the road, and I think it should be a fun one Sunday morning Central Time, Sunday afternoon here.
You mentioned in your preview and prediction via StarTribune.com what the Vikings were able to do to frustrate Rodgers a year ago when he was with the Jets. So different team, obviously, different circumstance, one could say. But is there reason to believe, you think, that the Vikings can do something similar to frustrate A-Rod in the passing game? It certainly doesn't look like the Steelers are running with much success. So what's the what do you think the Vikings defensive approach, the B-flow approach, will be this time around against A-Rod?
Yeah, I think they'll try to get after him. I mean, this line has not been very good. It certainly has not been very good at opening up space in the running game. But I think they've also had enough trouble protecting him, especially if it's bad down and distance situations, that I think the Vikings will bring plenty of pressure. They got after Rodgers. They blitzed him quite a bit last year, and that always used to be, the Cardinals sitting as Aaron Rodgers. You don't send pressure because he's got a quick release. He can move. He can get the ball out. He knows where everything's going to be, and you're going to get burned. That's not as much the case anymore. I mean, the quick release is still there. I think we'll see that on Sunday. But he's obviously not as mobile anymore as he was, especially after the Achilles. So you can get after him a little bit more, and he doesn't, he's like anybody that's 41 years old. He doesn't like to get hit. So I think they will try to make their presence known early and often, and I think they'll have a number of different things for him. Andrew Van Ginkel not playing, I think, is a loss for them, especially because Andrew Van Ginkel had one of the big moments of that game last year against the Jets where he dropped back into coverage, picked Aaron Rodgers off, and took it back for a touchdown. So I think, that's the type of player you'd like to have against this type of quarterback, but I still think they'll have enough ways to get after him, and I think they will throw a number of different looks at him on Sunday just to see how his offensive line can handle it from a protection standpoint and how much physicality they can bring to him and make him kind of think about it as the game goes on. I
get, you mentioned Van Ginkel. I'm glad you brought him up. So as I understand it, it's a neck issue, correct?
Yeah.
So should we start, I always worry when it's back or neck or things like that, vertebra, I start getting a little bit worried. Do we know, is this the thing that the Vikings have any concern about it becoming chronic? Is it we're just really being cautious and slow playing it? What are you hearing on the neck?
Yeah. We actually talked with O'Connell a little bit about this. Kind of the local media got together with him after his press conference today, and we asked about that. And he said he doesn't think it's going to be a long-term thing. He said Van Ginkel was doing better today. Came out of it with a little bit of soreness, and they said, traveling, sleeping overnight on a plane, they didn't want to push it as much. I think the fact that he didn't practice all week, it's hard to just say, oh, no, it's fine. It won't be a big deal. But for what O'Connell said today, it seems like they're hopeful they could get him back for that Browns game next week. I think if they didn't think that was an opportunity to do that, maybe you don't bring him. I mean, they still have all of their staff here so they can do treatment for injured players even if they're not playing. So there's probably still benefit to being here even if you weren't going to play. But I think all of the signs so far would point to them thinking he at least has a chance to go next week. And O'Connell certainly sounded optimistic about that possibility today.
Let's play the projection game at the quarterback position. It sounds, even before he left, that KOC was emphasizing we're not going to just put McCarthy back in the day he's declared ready. If that day is, let's say, Friday before the London game, he's got to practice. Yep. We need a full week of practice from him. So does that effectively mean that Wentz is going to play both of these games in your view? Or do you think, let's just say Wentz struggles. He comes back to earth, throws a couple picks, Vikings lose. What are the factors do you think that are going to go ultimately into the decision about who starts the second of the two European games?
Yeah, I think as far as McCarthy's chances to go, I mean, you can't rule it out probably at this point, but I do think the timing of this makes it tough to imagine he's playing next week because they have, and O'Connell said it again today, they want him to go through the full week. They want him to feel 100% because it's his back leg in his drop. He's somebody that wants to be able to run and move, and they don't want to take that away from him. So I don't think, he said today, we don't want to put him out there when he's not 100%. And then, there's always the question of, are you ever going to be 100% with something like this during a season? I think that's a point worth making and a point worth considering because it is really hard to get back to, complete off-season level health in the middle of an NFL calendar. So all of that is certainly part of the equation, but just the fact that he hasn't practiced, they would need to get him through kind of the full week as they've talked about. I think that's a little hard to imagine that they're far enough along by Wednesday with this, where they would have their first full practice next week, that they say, yes, you're going to go back out there, we're going to go through the full week with the projection that you're going to start. I mean, we'll see how Sunday goes, and these things can always change. I think if Wentz goes out there and struggles, you could wonder about, is that timeline going to change at all? But I think when they've talked about wanting McCarthy to be healthy, could be completely beyond this, it does lend itself to, on the injury basis alone, thinking that you're probably looking beyond the Browns game next week and obviously then into the bye week. Mm-hmm. And, the schedule is nasty enough after the bye. And as we talked about, that I think those questions come up too. Are you going to put him back out there against the Eagles and then against Jim Harbaugh, his old coach, 4 days later? I mean, all of those things are questions that are going to come up, but I think the timing of this makes it difficult to imagine it's not Carson Wentz for both these games. We'll see how it goes, but just my read on it right now would lead me that way.
Yeah, it's fascinating how the quarterback story has developed already pertaining to other quarterbacks who were with this team a year ago, right? I mean, Daniel Jones has been nothing short of revelation in Indianapolis. He's now become overnight Indiana Jones. They love him. He's played extremely well. Sam Darnold, again, pretty solid. They had to hold off, although then they got the late field goal. They needed the drive to set up the late field goal to win again. They're off to a nice start as well. And Rodgers, Rodgers to this point, I haven't watched all the games, but the feeling I get is he came on with a bang that first game, but has kind of just been ordinary pretty much ever since. What's the best way to evaluate A-Raj so far with Pittsburgh?
I think that's pretty much right. I think he had 4 touchdowns that first game, but just looking at numbers beyond that, he has not been quite as dynamic. In fact, I don't know that he's thrown for 200 yards in a game since that opener. So, they've won the 2 games and they've created a lot of turnovers, but I don't think he's been quite as electric as that first Sunday made it look like he could be. As far as everybody else, I mean, Daniel Jones has played very well and Sam Darnold's played extremely well for the Seahawks. So there's a lot of these quarterbacks, it's simply the ones that they had in their building last year, that by not signing them, you run the risk of this, where these guys go somewhere else, and it's, hey, this guy could have been here. He could be leading this ship. Instead, you're kind of trying to mix and match. Well, J.J. McCarthy's hurt, and go with a guy that you brought into your building a month ago. I think all of that is fair, and I think all of it is stuff they know and aren't they're not shying away from that, because I think in the end, there's certainly a belief in this building, or there is an understanding in the building that whatever they do independent of J.J. McCarthy, a lot of people are going to have their reputations staked to what they do with this quarterback. And I don't even think that conversations I've had that anybody is saying that's unfair. I think it's just, that's part of the deal when you draft a guy 10th overall and you're putting your name on the line. All of those things come with it. So I think when you look at it from that standpoint, they're probably less worried about the short term of this, knowing that the long term with McCarthy is really going to be what dictates a lot of this. I mean, he could get off to a bumpy start, but if he's in 2 or 3 years, you're saying, hey, this guy is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I don't think anybody will worry about the short term of it. But in the meantime, you do open yourself up to some of those things, because
no question,
we've seen teams miss on quarterbacks. We've seen teams miss on young quarterbacks a lot. And for as good as their reputation has been, it does not guarantee them a 100% hit rate on this. So it is one of those things where you put yourself out there, and certainly the short-term returns for the two guys they let leave the building have been pretty good. I think all of this is going to get determined down the road over the long course of J.J. McCarthy's time in Minnesota. And I think everybody that's involved in this says, yeah, that's how this is going to work. His reputation is going to have a lot to do with the people that picked him and how they're perceived. Interesting
comments yesterday. In fact, I gave Guardsy the actual sound. I read the quotes yesterday before I had heard the sound from Phil Simms. And Simms probably, for the JJ Obos, they probably were injured emotionally by some pretty strong commentary from Simms, wondering whether the Vikings were kidding themselves that McCarthy could make a big jump fast, with a team that seems ready to go. But I'll leave that aside for the moment. The other item that got my attention was what he said about Wentz. And he made a comment, something to the effect of, I really liked his body language. It seemed different. It felt like he was enjoying himself in a way that I have not often associated with Wentz on a number of his other stops. Now, we can read too much into that kind of stuff. On the other hand, it's a former very successful quarterback saying it. Do we have any sense of that in terms of Wentz body language, the way he has sort of, ingratiated himself within the building, with KOC in terms of what they're doing? What's your sense of that so far?
Yeah, it is interesting because Simms, I think, as a guy that played as long as he did in this league and had as much success as he did, it's an observation I'm sure he's not just coming by throwing darts at the wall. And there have been things with Carson Wentz in the past where you kind of wonder, how is this guy meshing with teammates? Right. I think that was a lot of the talk in Philly, that it was, how much does he accept hard coaching, and how does that relationship go when you have something critical to say to him? I think there was some of that talk on his way out of Indianapolis as well, which was the next shot he got, where Frank Reich, his OC in Philly, brought him to Indianapolis to try to work with him again. So when that staff, who won a Super Bowl in Philadelphia, decides we're giving up, and then the offensive coordinator from that team takes him on and says we're giving up again, those questions do come up. And I think there's been enough reporting to corroborate some of those things over the few years that those things happened, 2020 through 2022 or so. But it's whether it's a new lease on life because he was out of it a little bit, he hasn't been the starter, maybe some of those things have given him a different perspective. He's talked a lot about growing up a Vikings fan, and I think there's probably a little bit of a, hey, this is something I would have loved to do as a kid. So, maybe you tap into a little bit of that in terms of how much he's enjoying himself. It seems like he is. He was joking a little bit today about whether he's going to have Irish stew, and he said, Guinness would probably be a little more my speed. So, there's been some moments where you see a little bit of humor, a little bit of levity from him that I don't know would have always been quite the same way in the past. it's hard to know if it's all the KOC kumbaya stuff that
Sure.
you come in this building and everybody just has a new lease on life. That's kind of certainly the way people talk. It's hard to know how much of that is 100% accurate, but it has seemed, for whatever it's worth, like he's appreciating the opportunity and probably enjoying the fact that he's leading his favorite team as a kid to a win. I have to think that on some level that's, for even as many years as these guys do this as a job, that's probably still got to feel pretty good when you get a chance to do that.
Thanks for the time. A bit early today. Hope you can have some fun in Dublin in between doing the work, and we will talk next week. Thanks, Ben.
All right. Thanks, Dan.
Appreciate you. Ben Goessling, brought to you by our good friends at Standard Heating and Air Conditioning, live from Dublin. And yes, I have gotten a few texts saying fish and chips are legal in Dublin. In fact, I know that firsthand because I had fish and chips several times as well, just having a little bit of fun with Mr. Goessling. It's a very full program today. Lavelle E. Neal III at 5:30. Sean Salisbury at 5:02. Don Bentley on his latest Mitch Rapp novel at 4:02. And coming up in just a matter of minutes, oh my God, it's the prediction segment with the one and only Carl Gerbschmidt. Will he still be wounded from the Packers' dream of an undefeated regular and postseason being shattered last week in Cleveland? Well,
Support for today's show comes from Sonos. You know what makes draft day even better? Surround sound that hits harder than a sleeper pick in the 12th round. I just hooked up the Sonos Arc Ultra, and let me tell you, this thing booms. Crystal clear highs, deep bass, and it looks sleek enough to sit next to my fantasy draft board. Whether it's game day or mock draft night, Sonos makes every moment feel like a stadium experience. Trust me, your fantasy team deserves elite sound. Upgrade with Sonos at Sonos.com.
Would you guys consider anything less than a championship to be a failure from this year?
I wouldn't say anything is a failure, especially because we all grow every day. Obviously, the goal is a championship. There's no doubt in that, and that's the goal. We want to win a championship.
I'm Christina Williams, host of the podcast, In Case You Missed It with Christina Williams. The WNBA playoffs are here, and I've got the inside scoop on everything from key matchups and standout players to the behind-the-scenes moments you won't find anywhere else.
It's really, really hard to be the champions, but we have to remember how it feels and embrace the new challenge that we have.
For all the biggest stories in women's basketball, plus exclusive interviews with the game's brightest stars.
So to be here, I think it's one that we definitely don't take for granted. But we also know, that's just one stop along the way, and we're hoping to, make a run.
So listen to In Case You Missed It with Christina Williams, an iHeart Women's sports production in partnership with Deep Blue Sports and Entertainment on iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcasts.
find out next.
40, he could go, 50, intercepted, and a touchdown to the 10, he will score!
It's time for the Bumper to Bumper award-winning NFL prediction segment on The Fan, brought to you by Continental Diamond. Now, to help you break down this week's games, here's your favorite NFL wonk, Dan Barreiro.
I have a bone to pick with you, Carl Gerbschmidt, right off the top of this segment, and I might as well get to it, not because we don't have a lot of time. We're very busy, got a lot of good guests today.
I'm busy too, Dan. I'm very busy as well.
Well, hold on a second. My understanding is Guardsy had wanted to schedule you for our purposes at 4:30, and you acted like that was way too late for you. Why was that too late? What does that even mean?
Well, if you must know, Dan, remember we did not have a completed deal until last week. So there was a hole in my calendar that my new supervisor, it's the district, actually it's a state supervisor. And, Dan, you get a new boss and they want to, push you around, tell you what to do, So
hell yes.
He schedules a meeting. We've been out all afternoon doing reviews of inspections in the district, and
that's important.
And he wants to have a meeting at 4:00 on Friday. 4:00, Dan. I bet you none of your bosses are working at 4:00 on Friday.
Our bosses are never even here at 4:00 on Friday.
We don't know.
Little meetings, yeah.
They're bad bosses.
Well, they're not very attentive.
This guy thinks he's so damn smart. First of all, I think he's about 26 years old or something like that.
Well, so what's wrong with that?
You can't do my job takes experience, Dan. And I have to. I didn't get to go with my wife. My wife, by the way, is in Minneapolis right now. Hi, honey. Are you listening to the radio to Dan Barreiro?
Why is
she's going to some? She's got a concert or something. She's going to some. I don't know.
Oh, is it Farm Aid?
Toby Keith or some country thing.
Oh, I thought it was Farm Aid because that was a week ago. She's a little late for Farm Aid.
From Australia.
Oh, all right.
Some dude from Australia. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, she thinks. She and her girlfriends they all get dressed up and go to the concert.
Oh, boy.
Because they think, do you remember back in 1984 when Bruce Springsteen pulled Courtney Cox out of the audience?
I do. In
They think
Minneapolis.
something like that's going to happen.
Yeah, well,
okay.
There's history.
Whatever. But
There's
they
precedent.
think something like that's going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Not going to happen?
It might. Depends on what she's wearing.
No.
So that's the reason you couldn't come on with us at 4:30. Is that what you're claiming?
Because there had to be a stupid meeting here in a little over half an hour.
Well, you know what? Is it possible that you have become way too comfortable in your position, and maybe you need a boss who's going to try maybe to light a fire under you a little bit?
Dan, how well do you take to having a fire lit under you?
Well, there's no need to light a fire here. We're a well-oiled machine.
We're always burning.
We're a well-oiled machine, always burning.
So you're saying your boss is lazy?
Well, that's part of it, yes.
I understand.
Yeah. Well, I hope. Is it possible that there's going to be ongoing stress to the point where you won't be able to work with him?
With this new boss?
Yeah, with the new boss.
No, I think we'll be fine.
Okay.
I've dealt with a lot of bosses before.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm very, very good at my job. I just don't need to be checked up on.
You don't? Okay. All right. Well,
no, I'm. When was the last time you heard something going wrong in my region? You haven't.
Well, we don't really know that.
Not with the roads.
We only know what you tell us.
Well, it's all public record, Dan.
Is it?
I work for the state.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. If you want to check on reports for safety records and things like that, I think we have one person. That's all they do is compile those things. There's a lot of extra jobs in the government, Dan.
Well, there's always room for you, isn't there?
Well, so far there is.
Do you have any envy and jealousy that it's the Vikings that keep getting invited to these international games instead of your lowly Green Bay Packers?
We've been over there when we weren't as successful. They try not to put good teams over there because why give the Europeans something? You know what I mean?
What is that supposed to mean?
They say, well, who can we take a game away from here and there? Who's got a bad team?
Steelers are the most historic football program in NFL history. One of them.
Oh, I don't think so, Jordan. I think you're forgetting Green Bay Packers.
No, I'm including in that group. Pittsburgh's probably more historic. Chuck Noll,
quite frankly.
They're not more historic.
Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, Mike Tomlin, Terry Bradshaw.
Yeah, lately I wouldn't call either program particularly historic. Green Bay or Pittsburgh.
We're very good, Dan.
Well, not that good in Cleveland.
Well, they're bringing Cleveland, one of the good teams apparently this year.
Well, I would just say that was unfortunate.
Yeah, well, that's
there was some.
It's inexcusable.
There was some. I'm not going to make excuses.
No, please don't.
Okay, you can't let a guy block a field goal.
No,
you can't do that.
No, you shouldn't be able to.
We should have won that game.
How embarrassing is it that you had players after you went 2-0 talking about going undefeated? I mean, even your head coach was embarrassed.
It's hard not to look at this team and think that we're probably the best team in the league.
Is that right?
So, yeah, but sometimes you get a little, over-eager. You know what I mean?
You got more than over-eager.
Sometimes we're the youngest team in the league, Dan. We have...
Oh, here we go.
QB's playing like it.
Again. You know what? That's a choice. You made the choice. No one's going to feel sorry for you. What's that noise? What was that?
I got beeping going on in my truck.
That's weird.
We got like it's got radar in the front. So if I'm in Eau Claire right now, there's a lot of traffic in Eau Claire right now.
How's the road blow?
Eau Claire traffic.
This time of day, it's rough and rough. It's underrated.
I guess it probably would be.
Pretty busy.
Eau Claire rush hours. It'll surprise you.
It's not. It's infamous. It is.
Yeah, there's no doubt. We got to get to the games because we got a guest coming up at 4:02.
And you have a meeting.
And you got your meeting anyway at 4. That's right.
I'm going to be late, and you guys are making me late.
Guardsy 5-4 overall after a 2-1 week. Gerby 6-3 after a 1-2 week. This is always how I start, but I don't finish as well. I'm like the Vikings. I'm 8-1 after another 3-0 week. So let's get going with Ravens in Kansas City taking on the Chiefs. The Chiefs are underdogs again. Baltimore favored by 2.5 points. Guardsy?
At some point, the Chiefs have to stand up and be counted for, or it's just not going to happen. I'm giving them one more week this week. I think the Chiefs are going to cover. I think the Chiefs are going to win.
Gerby?
I think Baltimore embarrassed themselves against Detroit. I think that I do think it's over for Kansas City. That team looks terrible.
Yeah, they don't look very good.
Look good at all. And so I think we say, let's just take Baltimore and to cover on the road.
I'm going to take Kansas City to rebound. Second game, your Packers club, favored by what?
7.5.
In Dallas?
In Dallas.
7.5
on
points?
DraftKings.
That's absurd.
That's a bargain.
Guardsy, what do you think?
Too many points. I know Dallas doesn't look good. The Bears crushed them. They've got to have a little bit of pride at home. 7 is too many. I can see Green Bay winning this game, but not by more than a touchdown, so I'm taking the Cowboys to cover.
I am also taking Dallas to cover. Carl?
Well, obviously, you guys are wrong. Because Dallas isn't going to score. I mean, I'm sorry to tell you, that it's not looking good, and they can't stop us. I think you can name the score of Green Bay.
What do you mean they can't stop you? How many points did you score in Cleveland?
10.
Cleveland, Dan, has a very improved defense.
They do have an improved defense. I'll grant you that. It is a better defense.
Check up on the National Football League.
Too many points, though. 7.5? You're okay with that? On the road?
Of course I am. I'd take 10.5.
10.5. All right. Well, then if they don't win by 10.5, you lose this.
I don't have to take 10.5.
Oh.
Don't change the rules, Dan, just because you don't like losing.
I will take Dallas to, already said, Dallas to cover. Here's the big one. Across the pond, Vikings favored by 2.5 over A-Raj. And it sounds, I hope that's not your boss
that might be his
calling
boss.
early.
We should probably go here.
Over the Steelers. Guardsy?
Vikings.
I got 4 minutes to get there. Get off my ass.
Yeah, he's not messing around with you, is he? I love this.
Vikings will cover. They will control both lines of scrimmage. They will run the ball. Carson Wentz will play well. Jordan Addison is back. That's great. Vikings win and cover.
Gerby?
I think your team, Dan, is what we call psychologically fragile. So
I don't disagree with that.
You think you're going to do great. You beat Chicago first week, come back, you look like a terrible team against Atlanta. Then you come back and you get lucky against Cincinnati. Now you think you're really good again. And I think Pittsburgh, Aaron Rodgers is, he's still got something. And I think I think more than anything else, I think you'll be overconfident. And so I think that's what's going to Pittsburgh will cover that.
Vikings will win and will cover, even though I don't feel as strongly about it as I did earlier in the week.
There's no place to park here. What the hell? You took my parking space.
Yeah.
I think that might be our call waiting, too.
I think we got to go.
Yeah.
Good luck in the meeting.
I'm going to take the park. I'm going to be late.
Good luck in the meeting, Carl. Take care. That's Carl Gerbschmidt, apparently in the Friday afternoon meat grinder. That's when people get fired. I hope that doesn't mean it's the end of the road for WizDot with Carl Gerbschmidt. Let's pause. We'll come back. That call waiting might have been hours, as Guardsy mentions. We'll come back and chat with Don Bentley, who has penned the latest Mitch Rapp novel, already getting great reviews. We'll check in with him next.
Whatever team Fee is on has a chance to win a championship.
I'm Christina Williams, host of the podcast, In Case You Missed It with Christina Williams. The WNBA playoffs are here, and I've got the inside scoop on everything from key matchups and standout players to the behind-the-scenes moments you won't find anywhere else.
It's really, really hard to be the champions, but we have to remember how it feels and embrace the new challenge that we have.
So listen to In Case You Missed It with Christina Williams, an iHeart Women's Sports production in partnership with Deep Blue Sports and Entertainment on iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.